am a Night Rider.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Talk to me.
You gonna do that pogo?
You've been talking to the cop. Today is a brand new day.
No, that's it. It's the vibe.
G'day, fellow Aussie film lovers, and welcome to another episode of Under Southern Screens, the most 10 out of 10 Australian cinema podcast. I'm Decimal Mitch.
I'm Fraction Matthew.
I'm 10. Decimal because it's 10.
Yeah, okay, well, you know what?
1 out of 10, Matt.
Yeah, that's, Are we rating each other now? Is that was? Oh my gosh. Remember when in high school you used to do TBH and rates on your story?
All right, you say, remember when you, I never did that.
Okay.
I never did that.
It must have been a my high school thing.
No. My high school did it too. I was just not as self-absorbed.
That shows character growth, Mitchell.
No, I still am quite a anxious person when it comes to social media. I'm always kind of thinking, oh, no one wants to see what I'm posting, dude. Everyone hates me whenever I post. They're like, why is this guy on my feed, man? I'm always thinking that kind of stuff.
Who cares?
Well, that's the thing, right? Is I don't care a lot about what people post, but that doesn't mean they should care that I don't care. But unfortunately, I do care that people don't care. Needless to say, me being in charge of our social media is quite an anxiety-inducing experience.
Mate, everyone's got to learn sometime. It's a
immersion
young man's
therapy.
Game. You got to build up the skills for the incoming AI takeover, employment takeover.
I live in a social media world. If I ever want to get anywhere with my creations, I need to be able to promote myself. So this is good learning experiences.
And I think maybe this week on our Instagram, we should do a TBH and rate. I think that's on brand on our stories. Yeah, we'll just rate our followers, TBH, our followers, that some of which we do not know and we haven't met.
A little peek behind the curtains, dear listeners. We record these like way in advance of actually releasing them. So what will have to happen is I'll have to recall this in 4 weeks that we're going to do this.
I'll remember, mate. Don't
you
worry.
Will? All right.
When it comes to judging people on the social media platform, I'll remember, mate. Don't stress.
Anyway, you didn't give me a rating anyway. I said 1 out of 10 for you.
You're a straight 10, Mitch. That's all
don't,
I'll say.
because now I feel bad.
If you want a real answer, someone said I was like a 6 out of 10.
What?
In high school. So
that's better than 5.
That's great.
Least.
That's awesome.
You're better than a 6. You're
Thanks,
better
man.
than a 6.
I've taken that to heart and I've attempted to grow myself in the meantime.
Well, if you've grown to a lovely young boy. And if you haven't grown, you were always a lovely young boy.
Let's move on.
Cool. Too sincere. Not funny, not
Dude,
funny.
It's our 10th episode. Can you believe that?
Welcome, everyone, to the 10th episode. Matthew, I must ask you, did you think we'd get this far?
Well, look, okay, here's the gamble, right? Because you can either commit to a podcast or you can say that you're going to do this for a very, very long time and then dip after 3 episodes.
Well, we've done neither so far.
Yeah, well, that's it. So
Yeah.
I guess the jury is still out. But honestly, yeah, I've loved doing this so far. It's I'm really happy that we've talked about such a variety of different projects and different eras of Australian film.
I feel like we've A, managed to stick to our brief, and B, it turns out our brief wasn't horrible.
Yeah. It looks like there's just like a little bit of inspiration in this.
We've actually done a decent job with this project, and I've really enjoyed this too. We're gonna have to cut this again because this is too sincere and not funny.
This is too self-aggrandizing. We're Australians. We're supposed to hate everything we make.
I do. I mean, I'm gonna hate it when I listen back to it, but right now I'm really appreciative. But one thing I think we've maybe missed is we've discussed this, and we make sure to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land each and every episode.
As you should.
But we actually haven't discussed any First Nations stories on this podcast yet.
Yeah, and the thing is, there are hundreds, I would say, of great Indigenous Australian films spanning all over the years, some that are even culture and film defining. So we're not talking about it this week, but I'll let you in on a little secret. The first ever Australian film that was shot in colour was technically an Indigenous film.
Oh.
So that's like a really sort of interesting thing.
Do you know what movie it was?
It was called Jeddah. It's really racist.
You know what? I actually think I've heard about this one.
Yeah, we'll get there. Interesting effort.
Is that not the planet in Rogue One that they test the Death Star on?
Yeah, Gareth Edwards was going through the oeuvre of Australian film and was like, that's
the word. We should kill Forrest Whitaker on that planet. Spoilers for a 10-year-old movie.
We're going to have to put that in the spoiler warning at the top of the episode.
Yeah,
now.
we're going to have to, because, spoilers for 10 Canoes, which is the movie we're
watching
discussing.
that this week. I don't know why I went on a tangent about Jeddah. That was kind of weird.
No, it's important.
Yeah, it is. It all flows around. I mean, like,
And we'll probably cover it later.
we
as
definitely
well.
will. I mean, the films of Warwick Thornton, Mystery Road, Jeddah, Rabbit Proof Fence, and 10 Canoes, which is the movie that we're watching today.
I've seen 2 of those.
Oh, yeah, nice. So
And not the 2 you think.
guess which ones he's seen.
I actually didn't watch 10 Canoes. I actually did watch 10 Canoes, guys.
Yeah, 10 Canoes. I had never heard of this film before, but this is a Mitch's dad recommendation.
Oh, did I tell you this? Because I was about to say, yeah, my dad
Yes.
recommended this. I then looked on Letterboxd, and Alexi Toliopoulos, who I follow on Letterboxd, praise be his
Legend
name.
in the game. Please
He's-
come on our pod. I met you at the Epic premiere,
stop,
and I told you about the pod before it happened.
He liked our name, didn't he?
Yeah, he said it. That's a cool name. And
Yeah,
I
my
think,
dad said
I
the
think
same
he just
thing.
didn't hear it right, and like he thought I was saying like Under Southern Skies, which is what it's a play on words.
He's a cool guy. He seems like the kind of guy who would lie about liking a name even if he didn't like it.
And he probably just wanted me to get the hell away from him.
Please leave me alone, sir.
Yeah. Anyway.
So my dad recommended it. I had 2 mutuals on Letterboxd who had watched this. Neither of them were us. It was a friend of mine who watches a lot of Australian film as well, and also Alexi Toliopoulos. And we were ramping up to do the 10th episode, and I kind of clicked in my head like, 10 Canoes, 10 episodes. 10th Canoe episode.
Little light bulb moment.
I'm a genius. And so then I stole your chance to pick a film and said we should do this
Usurped
instead.
it.
Yeah, I did.
But you know what? I'm okay with that because I thought this was a fun watch.
This is interesting, isn't it?
Enlightening, and I'm really excited to have a little deep dive into it today. But just before we do, like, I just want to say, God, I love it when a dad recommends a movie. Like, I don't know how like filmically inclined your dad is, but like, I know my dad isn't really in on the game. But when he'll come around and be like, "Hey, Matthew, you know what movie you'd like?" and it's just like the most out of pocket pick.
Can you give us some examples?
My
or-
dad is a fan. Like, his favorite movie of all time is this like teen sex comedy called Whoopie Boys, and
I've
no
never
one's ever heard of it.
I've
But
never heard of
he
it.
loves it so much so that he kept the VHS tape from his childhood
Oh, so
for that
based.
movie.
That's
He
awesome.
watches footy, and that's the extent of his media. Yeah, and he watches Insiders as well, which, to be fair,
Oh yeah.
so he's a man of culture as well. But
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
love it when your dad, who like means so well, like comes up and pitches a movie to you. It's so good.
My dad's actually pretty locked in on film.
Damn, we should get him on the pod.
Trust me, I've asked. Actually, we'll tell you the episode I've asked him to get on, and he said he would be happy to. I don't want to spoil it for others, so I'm not going to say on the recording.
You'll find out when he's on the podcast, guys. But yeah, that's crazy.
He knows a lot about Australian film. He's actually way more knowledgeable. I knew he knew stuff, but since I started this podcast, he's just opened up about how much he knows. I'm like, Jesus, you.
That's
I mean,
awesome.
I knew you were clever, but I didn't know you were clever in this area.
It's so cool you're able to connect with him about that as well. It's
Yeah.
such a. Should we talk about 10 Canoes now, Mitch?
Let's talk about 10 Canoes. Let's talk about the film we're actually meant to be here for. Matthew, I believe you have an introduction for us.
I do.
Huzzah.
Let's jump right in.
Let's get in on it.
Our film this week for Under Southern Screens is the 2006 docudrama 10 Canoes. It's the first film we've looked at that wholly focuses on pre-colonial Indigenous culture, and it's a great introductory point into the spirituality and connection to land of the Aboriginal people that you won't find in other Australian films from 2006, like Happy Feet and Superman Returns.
Is it an Australian film?
It was shot in Sydney.
Oh, we should watch that.
We should. It was directed by the duo of Peter Jigger and Rolf de Heer, a Dutch-Australian director who, while not Indigenous, has created several influential works surrounding Aboriginal culture, such as 2002's The Tracker, and 10 Canoes is no different. The film, led by iconic Indigenous actor David Gulpilil as the storyteller and narrator, follows a group of hunters in Arnhem Land. The film is poised as an observational docudrama and framed as a story within a story within a story. We follow Gulpilil's character Dindy's journey of growth as a youth in a tribe that builds canoes to hunt. In the pursuit of becoming a leader on his own, he is told a traditional story the tribe has passed down that sees the conflicts with rival groups the tribe faced, which eventually results in the kidnapping of then lead warrior Dirigimaril's second wife as an ever-escalating conflict brews. This is an interesting film as it is argued to be the first film ever shot in Indigenous Australian languages, of which there are many Indigenous languages, so it's a pretty impressive logistical feat all around. The film also interchanges between full colour and black and white cinematography regularly, visually to represent the passing of time and the different stories. And of course, 10 Canoes was shot in the Northern Territory, meaning the catering budget for packs of Mount Franklin water bottles was highly astronomical. On a budget of $2.2 million, the film stood as one of the highest grossing Australian films of the year, making just over $3 million, which is a fantastic response for an Indigenous Australian film. Stop hating, this isn't Avatar: The Way of Water. 10 Canoes also spanned an educational multimedia project called 12 Canoes, focusing on spreading awareness on Yolngu culture, which I think is really nice. And that's that. Yeah, this is a cool movie.
This is fun. I like a lot of things about this movie. One of the things I like the most about this movie, though, is the vibe of how the story is told. So
okay, yeah.
You touched on that it's a story within a story within a story, which is not shied away on in any description I've ever seen of the film. Whenever you look it up or something, it'll say something along those lines generally.
It is the core conceit of...
It's the premise of the film, we could say. I think what's really great, though, is the top level is, as you mentioned, the storyteller, who leads most of the movie, though you never see them. And I think what's really great about that is it really has the vibe that you've sat down with this gentleman who's then telling you this story.
Mm-hmm. Takes you on a journey.
Yeah, you kind of feel like you're sitting down at a fire and he's walking you through this multi-layered story that, to be fair, like, there are moments where if he had only been talking about it and I was just listening, I'd be like, what? I think I need to see, like, what the hell are you talking about? But in general, it's great. And I like the vibe of the film. I'm not an expert on First Nations anything, but it feels very like that.
A thing we need to bring up initially is that we're coming at this film as two
exceedingly white boys.
Extremely depressingly white people.
I sunburn in my fridge when it's open.
I listen to George Harrison.
Whoa!
So if you're looking for a deeper Indigenous connection to this film, I'd highly recommend watching some of the making ofs on YouTube for this film. I guess that's the benefit of having sort of a lower scale release for this film, is that it's all of the making ofs and special features, and the context behind this film is available to read and watch online. We're coming at this from a perspective of, we've watched 10 Australian films so far and we're talking about the things we liked in it. And I think one of the things I do like you said, Mitch, is that it does feel like a really great entry point into a subsect of Indigenous culture that's not as highly touched on as sort of the colonialism aspect, as the colonization aspect, which granted is a story that needs to be told.
Yeah.
It's really enlightening to hear firsthand the day-to-day lives of Indigenous tribes in Arnhem Land, in my opinion.
I think you're exactly right. And in episode 2 of this podcast, when we did the true history of the Kelly gang, I mentioned that it's interesting that Ned Kelly keeps coming up because he's a part of our history that we don't have to engage with the genocide that runs through a lot of what our history is. Insane that I kind of neglected how much history Australia had before white colonists arrived in this country. And I want to make an amendment to that because
a little asterisk.
I should have mentioned that that's only in the context of white history. There is a massive amount of Australian history before even Australia was even considered like Australia, before it was even known by the rest of the world. There's hundreds of different languages. There's so much culture. There is so much history. The way the story is presented in this is the storyteller says, this is a story that happened so long ago. And there are even moments in where he's like, look what happened. I don't actually know. The story's kind of lost to history a little bit.
Exactly.
The point is that this is the moral I'm telling you through this story,
which is still relevant.
It's a beautiful story, I reckon, and it's told really well. It has recognizable characters who I'm not going to even attempt any of their names. Matt, it was an endeavor of yours to even try in that intro, and I'm proud of you. I'm glad I wasn't you.
So I'm sorry if I got all of them wrong, and I take ownership of that. I think this is a really interesting film. I think it is quite a slow film. It's one that you've really got to concentrate on, and there were moments when I got lost, especially in the sort of the multi-textual story with the story portion, because the themes are so similar between the stories, and the characters are so similar in the way they're framed.
Two characters are pretty much exactly the same, and that's the point as well. Like, they're meant to be mirrors of each other.
It lost me a little bit, but what I really love about this film is that it's sort of framed like a hangout movie. Do you know what I mean? It feels like a Linklater type of situation.
The lads are hanging out and just telling each other stories. They're going hunting for geese. face. Yeah,
they're trying to pick up chicks. You know, it's like it's just all like you get enveloped into the vibe of the gang, which I think is such a unique framing point from here, but one that allows you to connect really strongly with the characters. I think
I feel like when I talk to anyone about foreign language films, a lot of people are like, "Oh, I have just a hard time getting invested because
it's like, oh, the barrier of text. You know, I have to read, vomit."
Exactly. And this movie, the only part in English is the storyteller's narration. Every other indigenous person speaks the language that they would have been speaking,
which I think is awesome.
It's pretty rad. Cool. It is pretty cool, and I'm glad it's there. It really cements the legitimacy of this film and its style of storytelling that it's going for. But I just think the fact that they managed to make these really relatable characters who aren't speaking in your language, unless, of course, you are from one of these tribes that they come from. It's impressive movie making. It's impressive character creation. Like, there are characters, you know, I'll watch a lot of movies and I'll be like, I couldn't really tell you a trait that any character had. But in this movie, I can go, one of the wives was jealous and she didn't like it when her husband hung out with other dudes. One of the dudes, he loved honey so much.
He's so mean.
He's so lazy and he loves honey. He's like Winnie the Pooh, but a dude.
I loved him, man. That was probably one of the best characters. He gave me life.
He's constantly asking for honey.
I know.
And the way they introduce him, he's like, he has a big round belly. And it's like, oh my God, yes, he's me for real, for real.
And that's what I love. That's another thing I love about this film, actually, is that it does have these bits of comedy that you're like, oh, this, you know, it is
funny.
A comedy.
Yeah, there's funny moments.
I love the moments when like the young David Gopel character is trying to court the young wife, and every time he just constantly gets blocked by something. It's very teen John Hughes comedy. I think it's funny as. And then at the very end, it's like, well, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, it's very monkey's paw type shit.
Yeah, when he gets all the ladies.
But it's too much to handle. He's like, too many women.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah. Also me, for real.
Yeah. Such a lie.
I think one of my favorite moments of comedy is when he's just like standing behind some gum tree leaves and he thinks he's slick, but the first wife finds him and she's like, go away, and he just stands there like, maybe if I don't move she won't notice me, but she's like shouting directly.
It reminds me of those memes where it's like, yo, don't look now, but I think that girl's checking you out, and then they move the camera and the guy's just like in a different
hunched over, staring directly at them, maybe 2 centimeters away from them. Yeah, it's very good.
I wonder if this film was released in like 2026, it would have a social media marketing campaign where they would take advantage of ongoing Instagram and TikTok trends.
Much like us. much like how we do. I don't know, maybe. I think a lot of films just in general kind of have to do that just to stay in the zeitgeist, to be relevant.
To be relevant and hip with the Gen Z kids.
Which kind of sucks, honestly. A movie shouldn't have to do that. What did you think of the changing color?
Can I be honest, Mitch?
Yeah.
Can I be honest? It didn't hit me until too late into the movie that was supposed to represent the passing of time.
That is
I
hilarious.
just thought it was like a stylistic decision.
That is hilarious.
It was that dial-up internet meme in my head. Like I was
you
like,
just had a spinning, like the Macintosh spinning beach ball of death.
When things are like really sort of kicking off with the rival gang is when I'm like, oh wait, I get it. Movie codes. Let me go back to my intro to cinema studies class real quick and learn about mise-en-scene.
I think it's really interesting that they inverted what would generally be the black and white to color sections. So, because generally the most recent time is color and the past time is black and white.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, and I guess it shows that it's all story. It's all folklore. Maybe I
think your idea that past is all folklore is an interesting point, and I would even agree with that. I think that's correct. What I think I find more interesting though about it is kind of this commentary on how present day Indigenous Australians have been forced to lose like a lot of their culture.
Okay.
The color of their culture has been co-opted and put into the white gentrification of, you know, the whole country and all that. I was wondering if I might have read into it too much, but just it felt too deliberate to make the past so colorful and so filled with life. I mean, because you mentioned that it's like almost a pseudo documentary.
Yeah, it's very observational.
Because when you get to the past story story that's in color, the shot choice in there, it's movie shots, and it breaks the fourth wall in that the characters look directly into the camera as they're introduced, and they react to things the narrator is saying.
It's very Spike Lee.
Very Spike Lee. It's very story-esque. Whereas when you then go to the present day, it really hits home that documentary style.
Like a recount type of thing.
It's very detached. The camera's never very close to anyone. The closest you get is about a medium shot or so, where it's set up very workhorse-esque, in that it's set up in a way that it can catch everything without having to be repositioned, or the shot has to be retaken or something like that.
It's really creative.
It's very creative. It's very interesting. And I think there's just a part of me that wonders how much of that is a commentary on just what has happened to the First Nations people.
It's a shame because I haven't actually seen, I couldn't find any interviews or video interviews with the creative team behind this. So like, if anyone has any answers, like let us know. Please,
please
educate
get
us.
in contact with us.
I know I made the joke about like it not clocking to me that it was the passing of time, but I just want to say like one of the coolest shots in the film is that long take. It's like a minute long or whatever, when it gradually transitions from black and white to color.
They do a color to black and white because the movie opens in color, and then they do a black and white to color again, don't they?
You're traveling through the land, and it's all a landscape shot. I'm guessing it's on a trailer or a tracking dolly or something like that, and it's just
good stuff. I
thought it looked really cool as a very literal, moment. I thought it was pretty cool.
I loved the scenery in this film.
In the elements, it would have been an absolute nightmare to shoot.
Oh, it would have sucked ass. You're bush trekking, there's swamp, and water is like the Achilles heel of any film.
There's the running joke that, everything wants to kill you in Australia. Buddy, in the Northern Territory, everything does want to kill you.
I mean, they even mentioned crocodiles for 2 seconds. And I'm so
gators, mate.
That gator. We don't have gators. We have crocs.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Can you non-Americanize our Australian podcast, please? But I do think Australia, and kind of rightfully so, is known to be a desert country. With true history of the Kelly gang, it's all like the forests of Victoria and all that. But we do also have these, lovely kind of tropical swamp areas as well, way up in the north area. And it was just nice to have a film that really embraced that as the setting. And I enjoyed vaguely learning how they made canoes out of like the tree bark. They don't go in insane detail about how it's done, but it was fun to get the general gist of first they wet it, then they dry it, and then I was like, that's interesting. I loved hearing about how they did that. It was cool.
And I think it's those sort of smaller sides that really show the character and the humanity in what is such a, the impending tragedy of it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I'm glad that this story was able to be told.
I'm glad that white colonization had nothing to do with this.
The fact that it's all self-contained until the very, very end with the narration, we don't really focus on the darker aspects, and we're truly able to appreciate this way of living that is the oldest culture in civilization and humanity,
It goes a long way of humanizing Indigenous people. Like, there's a really easy image to have in your head that they were just
very monolithic.
They were monolithic, and they were a symbol, and then white people came along and ruined everything, which they did. But the Indigenous people, they were people. They weren't symbols. They were just people who got jealous of each other's wives. They had misunderstandings. They had lives. They had humor.
They had their own stories. Yeah, absolutely.
And it wasn't white people who brought complexity to them. They were always complex.
Absolutely. And this is a film that represents that so well.
Especially in Australian school, we learn about the colonization of Australia. We learn about Captain Cook, who wasn't even like the first white dude to come here.
And more importantly, we learn it all from a textbook.
We learn from a textbook. Exactly.
Yeah.
We don't learn about the histories that came before, and we don't go into good detail about it, at least anyway. The representation this movie provides, what this movie does, I like it a lot, and I think it's really important, and I'm glad it's here, and I'm glad we as Australians made it.
It's such a personal Australian film as well. Like, you can see the human emotions that we all face. We see jealousy, we see the cycle of violence, we see pursuit of love, we see everything. And I think it's so powerful when emotions like that transcend language. The ending in particular, when the notion of an eye for an eye and we part our separate ways, I think that was such a fantastic end to it. It shows, and I guess this is maybe lost in our modern segmented world, but it shows how at the end of the day we're all just trying to live. We're all on this one rock together, and why
Why?
Why? Tell him that it's human nature. That's Michael Jackson, ladies and
By the way,
gentlemen.
the next movie we're going to go see is Michael.
Oh my god.
That's not true. We're not seeing Michael.
I might.
I refuse to watch that movie because I disagree with him as a person.
I like his music a lot.
And B, it's not Australian.
Yeah, that's probably the other reason. This movie toes the line between the comedy, but then also really, really powerful moments. Like the death dance at the very, very end is such a powerful moment.
Yeah.
Firstly, it's enlightening. I had never heard of the concept of a death dance before, but when they explain it, it makes so much sense given the ideology of the film and the concept of the afterlife and spirits and spirituality and connection to land as well. And it's shot beautifully as well with the backlight and really cool. Really, really cool. Thumbs up.
Good movie.
I think this one's worth a watch if you're willing to pay attention to it.
Yeah, please don't get on your phone.
Which I unfortunately did once. And I think this would be best seen in a cinema environment.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted.
Awesome to like get immersed in sound wise as well, because the sound was pretty excellent.
The natural Foley. If Acme or someone else does a screening on it.
Almost all the people in the film weren't actors. They were just Aboriginal people of the tribe and stuff. And they just were like, yeah, we'll do this. This is fun. And they just hung out.
That's awesome.
I do also think it's important to note, I think we vaguely talked about one of the directors, but this was a directing duo.
Yes.
And both their names have lost me, but the other one is an Aboriginal man from the land that this movie was shot.
There's a massive debate about telling cultural stories from a culture that isn't yours, but yeah, this was a directorial duo who have made several Aboriginal focused films in the past. And so if they've done it once, they can do it again, and they've certainly pulled it off this time.
They did a great job. Please go watch. I think it's worth a watch. As Matt said, though, do it when you're ready to focus.
Pay attention.
Probably my biggest complaint is it can be a little dry.
It's very observational. You know, like when you go to Melbourne Museum and there's like an interactive video playing.
Can be like that, yeah.
It's a very statically shot, landscape-driven film, so it does give that energy. But look, what's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong with that.
The culture's there, the story's there, the humor is there, in my opinion, which is a great way to sort of break away from the mundanity of what would be static cinematography. Give it a watch if you're interested. And if you're not interested, you're racist.
You are racist if you're not interested in this movie. And also, you get to see Indigenous Winnie the Pooh. He's pretty awesome. Love that guy.
Yeah, he was pretty cool. He was pretty neat.
Matthew.
Hey, Mitch.
What is the most Australian thing about this Australian movie?
There's so much about this that is Australian.
Pretty Australian movie, right?
It's literally like probably the most connected to the Australian land that we've had so far.
It's probably the most Australian movie we've had.
But in my opinion, the most Australian thing about 10 Canoes is the incessant need for the youth of Australia to play in a lake.
Yes! Water is king!
They're hanging out, they're building canoes, they're going around, they're be careful of crocodiles, don't swallow the water.
Yeah, don't swallow the water. Fortunately, crocodiles aren't really an issue down here.
That's true. I haven't seen a crocodile in the Yarra River before, or the Birrarung.
I'm sure they're in there, though. I think they are. But we don't get salt waters, at least, which are the big, big boys.
That would be dangerous. We'd have to get Mr. Paul Hogan in from Crocodile Dundee 2
reference
to do it.
Crocodile Dundee 2.
Yeah, and the excellent Mr. Dundee, and no other movies whatsoever.
No other movies. I was thinking of that guy who's I can never remember his name. The one who's like
Steve Irwin.
The thousands blossoms blue.
Oh, Bob Catter.
But I ain't hearing any more about it. While every 3 weeks someone's ripped apart by a crocodile in northern Queensland.
I wonder if he swung into a lake in his youth at some point.
If you didn't do that, you missed out on a core Australian thinger. I'm looking to say you're not Australian because that's
good to
silly.
know I'm not Australian then, because I didn't do that. But I watched
I didn't
someone
say you're
on
not
Instagram
Australian
who did it, which was cool.
Oh, that's the same diff. Did they do it like a POV or is it?
It was an old primary school friend, and he's like, "I'm living free" or whatever, and it's just like, bro, don't swallow that water.
It's not that dangerous if you don't screw it up. Also, actually, it is kind of dangerous because there could be sticks and
rocks.
You can't see into it.
Yeah,
it's rough.
That's crazy.
Yeah, well, that's the podcast.
That's absolutely it. Yeah, cool movie. But next week,
Matthew, ask me what we're doing next week.
Mitch, on Under Southern Screens next week, are we going for a heavy hitter?
Not only next week are we going for a heavy hitter, we're doing a full month.
A month of heavy hitters. Oh my goodness.
We are doing Mad Makes.
Mad Makes. Are you regretting listening to us?
No. So for the month of May, each week we're going to watch the Mad Max films in order of release,
The quadrilogy.
excluding Furiosa.
Yeah, Furiosa.
We'll do that. We will do it, just not this time.
We're giving you 4 Mad Max movies in a month. Like, what more do you want, mate?
I think this is pretty generous. We figured that I bring up Mad Max enough in every single other episode. It was time to...
We need to cleanse the palate. We
need to get it out of my system.
Jinx.
Once this is done, I'll never talk about Mad Max again. Unlikely. I love Mad Max.
I genuinely think in maybe 4 of the 10 we've done, you've mentioned Mad Max. And so you know what? It's about time.
It's in my head a lot.
Yeah.
It's in my head a lot. Well, I mean, before we go in, how much Mad Max have you seen?
I've seen every single one except Thunderdome. That being said, I haven't seen the first one in years. So I'm really excited to take a little peek behind the curtain, as it were, and get reintroduced into the most obscure Australian films whatsoever that made no money and have no influence on how people perceive us.
Yeah, no one knows Mad Max. I'm actually so excited.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be an awesome ride.
Yeah,
please
Mad Makes.
join us for Mad Makes.
And in the meantime, Mitch, how can people get excited for Mad Makes? How can they see more of us?
You can check out our Instagram, Threads, and TikTok at Under Southern Screens Pod.
Yes, you can.
And you can send us general excitement fan mail, or even we'll take suggestions for movies.
Yes.
undersouthernscreenspod@gmail.com. Also, I've been forgetting to say this, but we should probably start because we do need to kind of beg for this because it helps us. Please rate and review this podcast on your podcast app of choice. It helps us a lot.
If you find the conversations about Mitch's father on this podcast interesting, give this a 5 stars.
Which may or may not have been cut out of this podcast, so weird thing to say in case it isn't in here.
I'm going to make it look so dumb now. So I'm going to leave it all in.
Well, no, that's a catch-all, all right? I'm only saying that in case it was cut out. If it wasn't cut out, then I'm fine.
We record this and then Mitch leaves and I edit the whole thing. So me making him look silly is in my hands.
It's just us talking about my dad.
And honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Send us messages. We're still wanting pictures of Eshays that you've befriended.
Do that, please.
Anyway, see you guys. Have a good one. And Matthew, what should they do?
You should keep an eye on them Southern Screens, baby. Woo! Bye.
Woo. Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Under Southern Screens. We'll be back next week to talk more films down under. We just want to attribute that our opening title is Heavy Duty by Zoo, and our closing title is Heavyweight by Fell Creek. Thanks so much for listening, and Mitch and I will see you in the next episode. See you next time. Under Southern Screens would like to acknowledge the stolen lands on which this podcast is recorded and produced, and pay tribute to the Wurundjeri and Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation and Camaragal people of the Eora Nation.
Sovereignty was never ceded, and we pay respect to all Indigenous elders past, present, and emerging. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.